Hey, and welcome to Glue Friday. Yeah, man, you know what? It has been raining and storming in Charlotte like every other day this week. So that's what it's doing right now. So it's a great time to be inside. Hey, count the blessings, right? Great time to be in shelter. Cool. We've got less than 5 minutes before we start this day's message. So if you're just tuning on, thank you. If it's your first time, Glue Friday was born from Glue Wednesday, where I always did a message on Wednesday where people said Wednesday was hump day. And as a part of recognizing it as the middle of a traditional 5-day work week, Monday to Friday. But I say, hey, control your vocabulary. Don't let your vocabulary control you. So Wednesday is actually the middle of a traditional 7-day calendar week, Sunday to Saturday. And it's the middle of the week that keeps the beginning and the end together. And so it brings them together. And that's why I call it the glue. And then GLUE is God's love undoes everything. We've got less than 4 minutes for today's actual message. But, of course, you may be watching the broadcast. I'm going to be doing something different today. And so I'm really looking forward to it because I'm going to have it as let me not say much more interactive, but one of the things that I started doing last week and just a little fun thing, it was to have like outtakes at the end of the broadcast to just have conversation with people in the thread. I'm going to do that more today, actually, as a part of the presentation. Or as a part of the message, because that's what it is. It's a message. So we've still got less than 4 minutes before we start that message. But one of the things we're doing is also called the GAS series. And GAS is Glue Alphabet Series, where a good friend of mine, one of my younger brothers, Sporty, gave me the idea to let each message have focus on a different letter of the alphabet. Now, today we're focusing on the letter X, and we've got less than 3 minutes before we get to today's message. So you'll see that in the description in the feed. Those of you who are coming in and going out, I hope you're coming back. But it's just been a wonderful introspective week for me. I actually have get this, I got a speaking engagement next week, and it's a live one. I'm going someplace where we've opened up. Not totally. It's not going to be a huge gathering. It's a small group, and it's in a large space, so there'll be plenty of room for spacing people out, and as well as they're not expecting their normal size of attendees. It's a networking group, so I'll be asking for some extra prayers. That's coming up on Tuesday. So on Monday I'll put out the word for those extra prayers for safety. Let me log into other. Okay, I got less than 2 minutes to go for today's actual message. But everything is going well. I don't have my computer raised up as high this time because that's again one of the things I'm going to be doing is talking to people in the chat, in the thread today, and so I need to be able to be streetwise. In fact, let me say that to you. It's less than 2 minutes before our message. Hi there. Once you wanted, in terms of Zoom etiquette, one of the things we learn is you want to try to have it at eye contact level. So if you decide to do a Zoom, a Facebook Live broadcast or something, try not to do it where you've got your camera this way and see it's looking at the ceiling and you're looking down, or not, or this way. You want to try to have it actually. I would want to have it ideally right up here at eye level, to where I can be looking straight ahead into the camera, which also gives them, can you see how I'm looking into your eyes right now versus if I'm looking at me on the screen, you can see that I'm not really looking at you. So your message is delivered through the eyes, okay? They say the eyes are the window to the soul. Hey, what's up, Tony? And so less than a minute before we start today's message. But that's one of the things, one of the changes that has come into our world as we do more video conferencing. It's how to look into the screen and keep your ability to make contact with people. For me, it was more. Zetsy, what you said? I was looking at you. Yeah, remember eye-to-eye contact? That was one of our songs. What's up, Zet? Hey, and happy birth-giving day to you, Zet, since today is her youngest daughter, well, her only daughter, Vilori's birthday. God, Vilori's 34. My goodness, that's my girl. And Tyvon's was on her son, was on Wednesday, so she's had 2 birth giving day celebrations this week. So it's 1 o'clock. So let's get started. Okay, but today's message is going to focus on the letter X. And as you can see up in the description, your X words today are the words that if you'd like to get a word in the next message so that I can make you one of my co-authors of the message, you would put it in the thread here. Now, the next message is going to be on Monday, and it's going to be words that begin with the letter Y. So if you got a word with the letter Y, and obviously the word U should be in there, you can just put that in the thread, and I'll weave that into the message. So on Wednesday, when we had our last session, people who knew that the letter today was going to be X, gave me words that begin with the letter X. Now, they gave me some words that begin with the letter E, where the X was the second letter. So I'm going to use all of those words and give you a message based on that. So here your X word, xenophobia. You might have seen it there and not known how to pronounce it, but that's an interesting one. Xanadu, excellent, which was 3 people gave me excellent as one of the words. Exuberant, X factor, exactly, and X-ray. And so my message today is, I call it Xerox the Exceptional. Xerox the Exceptional. And my poem feature today is going to be one that I've actually used in another message. It's called "The Problem Is That the Problem Was." And it's from my book, There's a Poet in Every Prophet. I'll be reading that. If you'd like a copy of the poem, you're going to email me at unclesporty@gmail.com, and that way I can send you a PDF commemorative sample of the poem that you can have as well. You can hang it on your wall, you can frame it, you can tape it, okay, and it's shareable too as well, so that's great. But here's what I liked about the X words is I had to do a lot of looking them up, and so I got a really interesting short message for you today. First, xenophobia. Xenophobia is the irrational fear of strangers or the fear of anything foreign. Anytime we dislike other people because of their race, culture, religious beliefs, or lifestyles that are different from our own, we are showing signs of xenophobia. So that's what you would get if you looked it up. And so I'm going to read the poem in my book called "The Problem Is That the Problem Was," and you hear xenophobia as one of the ingredients in that poem. Okay, the problem is that the problem was. You see, it's no longer a problem because all of us don't feel cheated, aren't being beaten, being accepted, enjoying inclusion, exclusion, infusion. All of us aren't experiencing discrimination, amputation, or humiliation. Some of us are haves, and some are have-nots. Some of us have our voice heard, homes, a job, career, business, a dollar, have no regard for faith or food, have nothing or anything to lose, love, learn, or laugh about. Some of us know or don't know how to play the game, jealousy, kindness, or the kingdom. Don't worry about money, mercy, or any masters, nooses, obstacles, or punishment, because we are privileged, proud, and patient. Some of us are. You see, it's no longer a problem because some of us remember, some don't. Some succeed, some won't. Some testify, others can't. Some understand while others underestimate. And the victory is not shared as one. So we wonder if we've won anything at all. Xenophobia sets in, and we want the young people to be as zealous as we were. But that's the problem. We were. And see, if we connect that back to what our message was on Wednesday, we talked about generational, about passing the baton. So, you know, sometimes our old generation, we're afraid to pass the baton. And so we, you know, so with xenophobia being the fear of strangers, a fear of anything foreign, something, sometimes the foreigner is the younger generation. Or, you know, the people who, as they say, you know, keep your enemies away, but keep your friends close, but keep your enemies closer. So you know, yeah, xenophobia is sometimes us not willing to pass on the message because there's a new message, there's a new way of thinking in our younger generation. By the way, there was some problem on my volume. The volume's doing pretty good now? I guess it has, because normally people say, we can't hear you, we can't hear you. Hey, what's up, Linda? Haven't seen you before, in a while, rather. So great, welcome back. Hey, Roger Carroll, welcome back. So that's where the xenophobia can set in, because, and I wrote that poem back in 2004, and we're seeing it in huge doses right now as people use the fear of somebody else's, of change, because what it is, if you hear it, it's talking about the fear of change. And so when we include other people in our lives and bring their cultures in, that's going to change who we are. So that's another thing I'm going to be doing today, is asking you a lot of questions. I want you to be really introspective today and think about how you're bringing other people into your lives. So after listening to that phone, some of the problem is that the problem was, see, now we say, oh, you know what, hey, I got my money, I made mine, it's their problem now. That's what happens sometimes. And that's why we don't actually pass the baton on to our younger generation, because we say, oh man, they don't appreciate the way things were. Wednesday we talked about that. The way things weren't always so good. And both Roger Carroll and Tony, both of you were great enough to put in the dates, the years for women getting the right to vote. And then also another friend of mine came in, Toya Merriweather, and she had that too. So, see, that's all about how we're working together. So let's go back to xenophobia. Let me ask you, what are you afraid of? What are you afraid of that you're passing the fear on to someone else? You don't have to put that in the thread, but that's what I want you to think about. What are you afraid of that you're passing that fear on to someone else? Whether it's your children, your friends, your neighbors, you're afraid of something, you're passing on that fear. And guess what? What fear have you inherited? Because sometimes we pass along what we have inherited. It's that's what legacy is all about. Is, since my family doesn't like these types of people, well, therefore the next generation should not like those types of people. So fear gets passed on, it gets inherited. Does the buck stop with you? Are we now going to become a multiracial society? The people who say, oh, I don't see color. You better see color. You better, what you have to do is, I see color, but I also see people. See, I see people behind the color. I know it's a cliche. Don't really lie. You see color, but then do you then see the person? That's the key. Because, there's no such thing as all white people this and all black people that and all Hispanic. There's no such thing. The extremes are what can, push us into the xenophobia. If we really believe that all of this type of people or this type of thing, it's not just people, are this way. That's why you've got to expand your source, your connection of people, your field of vision. You have to bring other people in your life so that you can see what a different lifestyle looks like and you can understand a different point of view. Okay, so think about those things. What are you afraid of that you're passing the fear on to someone else, which can also be fake news, by the way, and what fear have you inherited? Then I also had to look up Xanadu. And Roger Carroll, I laughed. Xanadu, the name Xanadu means Mongolian city. Mongolian, like the Mongolia, city, and is of Mongolian origin. Xanadu is a name that's been used by parents who are considering unisex or non-gendered baby names. Baby names that can be used for any gender. So again, you see how that connects to xenophobia. Is Xanadu is parents considering unisex or non-gendered baby names. So what I did is I thought about what are some, and now let's go on and get to working out. Okay, what are some names that are non-gender? I thought of Leslie, Avery, Sydney, and Terry. You don't know how I'm spelling any of those, but I chose to use those because the acronym for that is LAST. Leslie, Avery, Sydney, and Terry. And I say LAST, last, and I equal that to legacy and say what will be the lasting thought or message that you leave behind or pass along. Last. What's the lasting message that you're going to leave behind or pass along? And there we go. It reconnects right again to that. Will it be a xenophobic message that you're passing along? So what? So I want to ask you. Now we're going to have some participation. Okay. Hey Martha, I left a message for you, by the way, on Wednesday's message that those S words, we're going to make that a bonus session on June 5th. Hey, what's up, Mama Soul? My cousin in the house. Good to see you. Yeah, we're going to make that a bonus message on June 5th when we get through the whole alphabet, when we finish with the letter Z, and I'm not going to do a spoiler alert and say Zetine is going to be in that one. Okay. So anyway, so those are some whole words that are non-gender that get named. Leslie, Avery, Sydney, and Terry. And they are the last thing. L-A-S-T. What is your legacy? What message will you leave for people? But here's what I wanted you to say, what I wanted to say also. A lot of times we hear or see Xanadu, because Xanadu is, if you just come in, Xanadu is a name used by parents who are considering unisex or non-gender baby names. I think we also see Xanadu in nicknames. Okay? Chris, Bobby, Pat, Lou, right? We don't really know what sex they are unless we see them or meet them and have that conversation. But here's what I want you to do. What are some of your nicknames and why? Let's put those in the thread. What are some of your nicknames and why? And especially if it's a nickname that you like. So let's go on and take some time and put those in the thread. What kind of nickname? And meanwhile, while you're doing that, I'll tell you, for instance, Sporty is not my birth name. Here's my birth name is Sporty, which you see in the Facebook thing anyway, and it's pronounced R-I-S-S-P-O-D-E-E. That's the phonetic spelling of it. But when I was growing up, I could, when we were playing games, ain't nobody want to get hooked on phonics and try to pick I want to Sporty. No, I had to have a nickname. On my block, everybody, we had nicknames. And so my nickname was Sports Car. And then when I went to school, my teachers called me Sporty instead of Sporty. So Sports Car and Sporty, that's how I got Sporty. So that's how I got my nickname. What's your nickname and how'd you get it? Go on and put it in the feed. Yeah, see, we're doing interactive. Zion. Oh, okay. Zion. Oh, that's a great nickname. If you're going to tell, and by the way, yeah, you know what? Since we can't unmute ourselves and talk about it, you don't have to put the whole thing in there. But, if you want to just put a little part, Zet. Right, Zet. That's an easy one from Zetine. Even though Martha, yeah, that Zion one. See, that would be a great discussion. Who else? Who else has got a nickname? Either now or one that you had when you were growing up. And there's a reason to this, by the way, so please put it in. Moochie. Hey. And you know what? The funny thing is, that's a Xanadu type name. I have a friend who's a guy. His nickname is Moochie. Oh, no, you know what? They call him Mooch. They just call him Mooch. Okay, all right, but Moochie. Okay, what other nicknames we got in there? Oh, I know y'all see it says Shirley, but Tony is Tony a nickname or middle name? Moochie, one of your best friend named you that. Uh-huh. Yeah, Zed is also good at naming people. She just, and you know what happens? When you name somebody, it's easy to remember them. That's always easy for me. Give somebody a nickname, and then I can remember. Zed said the other night when we were doing a birthday party for Leroy, she said, yeah, if I don't name you, then I don't particularly like you. Something like that. That was me catching myself from realizing I don't want to talk about how we was not PG-13 on that call. And so that's a whole nother conversation. Moving on. Okay. Switchy. Even as a child, I switched my hips. Hey, Switchy. Oh, God, that's a good one. Oh, and Zet, remember we had a nickname for Zet, for you? We call Zet Kims. I don't even remember why. Do you remember Kims? Okay, Lucinda. Nickname is Cindy because my mother didn't want my nickname to be Lucy. I Love Lucy was big when I was born, and my mom didn't like Lucille Ball. So I'm also, Cindy, okay. Didn't like that so much. I Love Lucy. Her show was I Don't Love Lucy, huh? Okay, Jean. Is that pronounced Jean? Given by my parents, the nickname for Martha? Jean, okay. Zet calls everybody Myrna. She Myrna. They come calling him from Giselle. Okay, Tony is the nickname. Okay, but the middle name is Antoinette. Mother also called me Tito. Yeah, Tito, pass me my tissue. Michael Jackson, right? All right, when she herself called my sister Tina. Okay, that's not that. Anybody else can go on and put them in. But here's the reason that I want you to do that. See, thinking about those names, don't they bring us joy sometimes? Don't you smile when you put your nickname in? Even thinking about the person who gave you your nickname or why you nickname people. That's what we want to do right now, y'all. It's really about bringing those smiles to ourselves and to our spirit. And it can be just as simple as that, as, thinking about, what's my nickname? What did I nickname somebody? See, what did I do that has made me feel good? And that's what you want to connect to, because that will help you deal with negative stress as well as help you build resiliency. Lucinda, okay, I love you. Yes, okay, thank you. And so that's, you have to get rid of you, because you're going to have negative stress. Stress is negative and positive. The negative stress is when you're feeling overwhelmed and the depression and the high blood pressure. Well, you can have high blood pressure without being stressed, but when it goes through the roof, and things are just driving you crazy, that's the negative stress. When you have a situation that you think you should have control over, but you have no control over. Because see, there's also perceived stress where we think that we are in a bad situation when we actually are not. And let me give you an example of perceived stress. Is when you lost you can't find your key. No, okay, I got a better one. Let me give you stress first. You lost your key and you can't get in to your house. That's a stressful situation because you're locked out. But here's perceived stress. You haven't heard from your friend, your mate, or somebody who's coming over, and you think, oh no, are they in a car accident because they're 15 minutes late? See, that's perceived stress. You don't know whether or not they actually just couldn't find their key to their car and not driving over. They don't have their phone. Their phone doesn't have any bars, so they can't call you and let you know that they're running late. See, so that's perceived stress, where you go right to thinking about the negative or what could be a bad problem. I hope those were good examples, because I tried to make them not heavy examples. But real stress is when you're in a situation that that you don't know what's going on and I can't get out of this. It's a tough situation. And perceived stress is where you just decide that there's a negative outcome, and you really don't have to let that be the forecast. You get a letter from the doctor, and you say, oh my God, it's a letter from the doctor. Something must be wrong. Well, how about opening it and finding out? And you might find out that they were just, thanking you for your last visit, okay? But that's the negative stress. The positive stress is when you exercise, when you study for an exam, when you get yourself ready to, that's still stress, but it's positive because it's building something up. And that's what I was saying. And the whole point of me saying that is that, these types of memories will help you build up positive stress and deal with the negative stress and push that out of the way and help you become more resilient. So think about things like that, all right? Then also I thought about Xanadu when because Roger Carroll had given me Xanadu. And when I thought, and see, Lucinda that's Zet's nickname is Z, okay? And so, but I thought about Tina Marie was the name of the artist. I said Vicky Sue Robinson. I couldn't think of who made the song that said, "Till We Make It Through the Xanadu." But it's actually Tina Marie has a song called Behind the Groove. And so Behind the Groove, there's a lyric in there that says, till we make it through the Xanadu. But I still bring that in as our message. And I want to say, what's going on in your life behind the scenes that may be feeding that xenophobia that we talked about at the beginning? What's going on in your life behind the scenes that's feeding into your xenophobia or into just who you are? It doesn't have to be only feeding into fear. Think about what's feeding into your victory. See, that's something that we want to focus on as well. What makes you an important piece of the puzzle? Because I said that you're an important piece of the puzzle. You're either a small, medium, or large piece of the puzzle, but without you, the puzzle is incomplete. Well, what's feeding into that so that you can know that you're an important piece of the puzzle? That's what's behind the groove. And can you commit to overcoming it if it's something bad? Can you make that commitment? You know what? The reason I'm feeling this way about this type of people is because this is what I've heard from so and so. You know what? Choose your messengers carefully. I'll need to stop listening to that. The news is is spewing out negativity. So maybe I'll listen to less news. Instead of listening to 2 hours of news, I'll listen to 1 hour of news, or hour 45. You go on and cut it back slowly. But excuse me, if the news is not really updating a lot of stuff, you can let it go. Right now, it's not a whole lot of updates. Everything is about, how many more people died from the coronavirus, and my heart goes out to any of you who know someone who did die from it. I'm not discounting that, but that's what the news is about. It's about, how it's being politically used. Now, racism was never out of the news. We got new examples of it. And so, even as you, and I say to you, you know what I say? When you see those protests, petitions, the real ones, I say, go online and sign those. Sometimes I look at that and say, does it make a difference? I don't know. But you know what? Maybe, somebody needs to see, and now I'm thinking out loud, our politicians need to see, hey, wow, my constituency is against this or for this. I need to change my message. And then maybe that'll change how they govern. And as the people at the top, as these politicians change how they govern, it comes down to how we are treated. But you have to see yourself as an important piece of the puzzle. You got to vote. You got to let your feelings be known, but you have to try to do it and just like they say, protest, they want them to be nonviolent. That wasn't just back then, Martin Luther King's day. The guy in Minnesota, they showed one of the protest leaders, he said to everybody, hey, we need to be nonviolent. Because that's how you want to get your message across. See, once you get violent, it's easy for the news to drown out your cause because they can say, well, these are just a bunch of belligerent people who, and see, now we go into the xenophobia. These people, versus, wait a minute, this was an organized gathering of people who are saying, hey, this needs to stop, and here's how we feel about it. Come on, you have to be real. I mean, I have friends who served as policemen, and I have plenty of friends in the National Guard. Okay, these are the people who get called out, and they have to come out with riot gear. Sometimes they really believe in your cause, but if you're just coming after everybody who's in the blue uniform, I have to protect myself. And so, so it's a tough choice, y'all. I'm not saying it's easy, but come on, let's just pace ourselves. And that's why I say, what's behind the groove? What is it inside you that's making you do what you do? And let me finish that point, because I realized I didn't finish that point, what I made about the cops and my National Guard people. Sometimes they really believe in the cause as well, but their job calls for them to try to make sure they start out being there to make sure that the protest is peaceful. Their initial job is to make sure that anybody who tries to incite a riot or something, that they get that person separated and let the people who are protesting have their say. That's the original reason for them being on duty. And then sometimes we push them into a defensive mode where they're getting attacked, and now they have to defend themselves. It's hard, but again, I know some police and retired police, and I know some active National Guards people, and so they're not all bad people who wish that we would shut the hell up, So let's realize that remember we said we don't see color, you see color, but see a person. See a person behind that color and recognize that everybody is sometimes put into a situation that they have to make the best of. So, lastly, my last X was X Factor. And X Factor is a quality that you cannot describe that makes someone very special. He's the singer who has the X Factor. Exceptional qualities, things, and people, a gift from the gods. And we know that, but I wanted to make sure I break that up because the X Factor, to me, goes right back to the wrap it all up, and it's what is it about you? What's your X factor? There's something that makes you a gift. It's about self-esteem. SELF, self-esteem, love's foundation. How big is your self-esteem? What can you do to keep a more positive self-esteem? Because once you have positive self-esteem, that helps you have a positive vocabulary. That helps you have a positive outlook. That helps you, have a positive way of handling your stress. All the things that we've talked about today can come down to relate to what your X factor is. How you're handling yourself internally will impact how you handle yourself externally. So think about what your X factor is. What is it that makes you an important piece of the puzzle that we all need you to be? And I also want to connect that to, are you taking care of yourself? Remember, I said, you got to put you first. You got to take care of you before you can take care of anybody else. And you got to take care of you because there's sometimes people who don't want your help. So take care of yourself so that you can be of help to those who want it, and that you can be okay with those who don't want it. That doesn't take your health away. Take care of yourself because it's going to make a difference. Once you do that, you know what your X factor is, and now you can do what? You can pass along and inherit goodness and positivity and resilience and strength. And those are the things that we need a wonderful blend of in our lives, because you have to have balance. Is not about 50-50. Balance is about priority and push aside. What are you prioritizing and what are you pushing aside? That's what balance is. And as you start to look at what's going on in your life, what you need to be happening, then you will move your energies, your priorities toward that, and that will create the balance. Well, how about let's make our priority being positive. If I'm so focused on positive, the negativity will lose its power. Like they say, salt loses its taste after a while. So the negativity will lose its taste if we stop spewing it out. And so that's what. So my actual last X is therefore X-ray, because that's what I'm saying. What do we see if we look into our hearts? X-ray. What will you see if you look into your heart? And are we making a Xerox copy of our gift of exceptionalism? That's my title of it. It was Xerox the Exceptional. See, that's also us taking liberty of the English language. Because a lot of times, Xerox, by the way, Xerox is the name of the company. But when we hear Xerox, we automatically think of making a copy. But the true thing is called a Xerox copy. They had the market so cornered that a copy was called Xerox. And so that's why I said, are we making a Xerox of our exceptionalism? Are we making a copy of who we are? Are we checking ourselves on the inside and then showing that on the outside? And then when we show what we show on the outside, are we checking that out and making sure that it goes well with the inside and using it again? So make a copy of all the positivity that you bring into this world, and then keep spreading it out, because the more you spread it out, the more it'll grow, because it starts to become around you, and it reaches further and further and further, and that's the joy. So that's why I also say control your vocabulary rather than allowing your vocabulary to control you, because we took the liberty of putting an E in front of the word X, and we still will let the X sound. We don't say E excellent, we say excellent. We say extraordinary. We say exuberant. We say, what are the other words? We say exactly. See, that's us taking the liberty that we have for using the English language. And I want you to take that liberty and then use it to do what I've always said to you. Control your vocabulary rather than allowing your vocabulary to control you. The words that we bring into our lives and into our spirit and we hold on, that's what we let come out. So control your vocabulary. So those are good examples of how we do that. We're taking that liberty in our vocabulary, and then just again find ways to be exceptional. And so and meanwhile, fact check me if you like. Go and look up Exuberant and look up Xenophobia and look up Xanadu. Xanadu, by the way, had a lot of different other meanings. I chose the one that I wanted to use. There was a movie called Xanadu that was a flop, and so you can see that on YouTube. But that's the thing. Even as I say that, I remind us when we think about what's going on in terms of our xenophobia type thing is fact check. Don't just send an email because you got one. You're going to get some negative news. There's going to be false prophets right now, right? Chaos creates crime. And then, a lot of people say, you need to do this and we need to, but then a lot of people say, we need to do this and then they don't. And I want to tell you one more time, and I'll say it as often as I need to because I don't really mind. When you send me an inbox message to say, hurry up and spread this before they take it down, I don't pass it along. The first thing I do is click on your name and go to your page and see if you've posted it. If you haven't posted it, I therefore just delete your message. And I ain't mad at you. But what I want you to know is that you're not fighting the battle. The way you can't win the war if you don't know how to fight the war. For something to go viral, for a message to get out, it needs to be in your feed. And that goes to what we were saying about what's on the inside. Do you believe what's on the inside of you? Okay? If you're not posting it on your feed, because, messages need to get likes, loves, shares, forwards. That's what makes something go viral. Not how many times me sending it to 20 people on an inbox. It gets no traction. And so, therefore, if it gets taken down by whoever the hell they is, if it gets taken down, it never got any traction. Whereas if you post it on your site, on your page, it takes longer for them to take it down because so many people have liked it and tagged somebody and shared it. That's what it's all about, y'all. Come on, we have to learn how to use technology. We're in that time. It's not coming. We're here. So let's use the technology right. We created technology. Technology didn't create us. So learn how to use technology and use it so that you can get your message out because, silence is not golden. And I put that in my thread with a message that talks about what's his name? George Floyd. Silence is not golden. So, we have to speak up. And you don't have to speak up when spewing hatred. I'm happy to show, look, this is something I believe in. I am against racism, and I'm not going to hide it. I'm not going to say, well, let me not say nothing. Let me inbox and all of my friends who already know that. See, so what good does it do, y'all? Come on, let's really unite and do what we have to do. So that's my little extra message for today. But, have a safe weekend. Think about those nicknames. Think about some positive stuff, y'all. Because you have to focus on the positive. And Monday, our letter will be Y. And so you will definitely be in there. But also yesterday could be in there because yesterday is something that you have to let go. The past is gone. What happened yesterday happened. What part did you play in it? How could you have avoided making what happened yesterday happen? And if you couldn't avoid it, why are you letting it continue to stress you out? See, let it go and be ready for today. Because you're never going to make it to tomorrow. Tomorrow never comes. If you notice, every time you get to this thing called tomorrow, it's today. So that's what we want to do as we find ways to share our joy and message. So again, if you want a word with the letter Y, put it in there. Yes, yeah, with the letter Y for Monday's message, put that in the thread. If you want a copy of the poem, email me to unclesporty@gmail.com, and I'm going to run through some comments right now with you. And thank y'all for participating. And because I've got another call coming up at 2, I'm going to be learning how to put music into my Zoom seminars and stuff. See, I'm using this time to get educated, y'all, so that when I share something with you, just in case you don't get to fact check me or you run right into something and you got to say something, bam, I want to make sure I've given you the right thing. So that's great. So yonder, yeah, I love it when you come yonder. Look over yonder, yonder. Yonder becomes closer and closer when we have a good goal setting. What's up, Gerard? What just happened to you? See, that's what sometimes I know, but I think you're talking about the inbox thing. Okay, and Zet said, yeah, a lot of people, and Zet, it's again, don't worry, go check their page. Now, I used to, every now and then, based on who it is, I'll say, so-and-so, look. And then I'll tell them, because I can see, I may know why they've sent it. I said, look, this doesn't get any traction unless you put it on your page. And then they'll say, oh, thank you. And then they'll do it. If it's somebody who I think that's why they want to do it, they'll do it. But the next time after I sent you that update, and you don't do it, then you send me another one without doing it, I won't send you the instructions again. I got stuff to do. That's what I'm talking about, how you got to help people who want your help. If you teach somebody something and they don't learn it, I know we learn through repetition, but you have to know where you have to stop extending yourself, because your sanctity is important. Now don't make that's Monday's message, that I'll preach that, as Gerard says. Okay. Oh, Olivia Newton-John starred in the movie, right? Yeah, they and you know what, Mama Soul, when I was reading the thing, it said that the movie got bad reviews and they wanted to make sure that people knew it was bad reviews. So I didn't get to finish seeing what that was all about. But that's what they said about Xanadu. All right, let's see. Tony said, I know that's right. And yet, since I don't know where that was, that's good. It's imperative that we pour into ourselves to stay balanced. Yeah, you have to. Yeah, and positivity is contagious. It will be. Choose your messengers carefully. And yes, that's a good word. By the way, if y'all know my pattern, when I go through the thread, when I see a word that's for the next message, then I'll put a heart on it. That's how I signal myself. I put love on it. Okay, that's a word for the next message. And then the other message, I'll put like and laugh and care. But that's what I do when I go through it. So that helps me. See, you got to have a system. Okay? We are the first line of defense. Yes, you are, to your spirit. You got to be. That's right. Don't feed the beast. There you go. Right? Because ignorance needs, like they say, misery loves company. Ignorance needs to be fed. If you have a good reason for something, so it really, you can see it deflate somebody's argument. It's just like how they say, where you kill them with kindness. If someone's doing like this and you just step back, it's harder for them to do it. But if they do like this and then you raise up to them, it's easier for them to try to throw that punch. Yeah, example of oh good. Oh, thank you. I should have looked then to see. Okay, the siblings called me Mop-Eye instead of Martha. All right. Mop-Eye, because they couldn't say Martha. Mop-Eye. I remember them making fun of my large eyes. Oh, yeah. See, and see, even when you talk about the memory, I remember them making fun. I was talking to a friend of mine today about bullying. And I was telling her that I fit into a category from my youth that a lot of people aren't aware of. It's called popularity bullies. See, we tend to think of bullies as the person who's beating people up and holding people's head under water and treating them bad. But a lot of us were popularity bullies back in the day. It's a subconscious level of bullying. It's the class clowns, the athletes, most likely to succeed. See, the people who everybody just automatically gravitates toward them can become popularity bullies without even consciously trying to hurt anybody's feelings. But as the class clown, I used to laugh and make jokes about everyone, about what they wore, where they were from, and everybody was cracking up laughing, and I'm loving it. I'm like, oh man, that was a good joke, and I got popular from that. And I never did it as, ooh, I want to hurt their feelings, let me say that. So a lot of us fall into that category. And so, but the awareness is what can change things. So that was one of the things that a friend of mine, we were talking about that. And so I say that to say, where Martha said, they made fun of my large eyes. They didn't think, ooh, let me bully her and make fun of her. No, they, kids, we learn. They laughing and joking. And then after a while, it becomes hurtful. Sometimes we tell kids that they're being hurtful, and they didn't mean to be. And that's a tough conversation. Try to think about how you're going to talk to your kids about being hurtful and not make them feel like that they're the worst person in the world, because sometimes they really are just being nice. Hey, Alicia, what's happening? Good to see you. Yeah, snapping. Yeah, we used to call it snapping, where we would talk about somebody, and we used to get together in the park, and it was on. It was on. People just snapping. A guy who I did my Toastmaster speech about, Jerry Lilly, and and in the speech I said he was a bully I grew up with, but back then we didn't call it bullying, and we called it being popular. We never looked at it bullying, but Jerry could snap, and snapping to us meant making jokes about someone. It's how you hear the comedians, Chris Rock and rest his soul, my boy Bernie Mac. That was snapping, and so that's what we used to do. All right, you remind me of Papo, so smart and kind. Have a great weekend. Thank you, Elena. I appreciate that. I appreciate that. Yep. All right. Yeshua. Okay, there's another one. Oh, yippee. Oh, watch that mouth, Patrick. Yippee. This is PG-55 here, y'all. But anyway, look, thank y'all for staying on this little extra time. Thank y'all for putting stuff in the feed and boosting my spirits. And I'm blessed to be able to boost yours. But that's what it's all about. But I got 20 minutes to get ready for learning how to put some music to these things. I am going to be moving to doing some of my broadcasts from Zoom because guess what? I learned that that's a way to brand. You know how in Zoom you'll have your name? And so I will be able to get video feeds of myself with my name on it. That becomes something I can use for marketing my business. Always think, y'all. Be thinking. The game is being played. And you can't play the game from the stands. You got to get on the field. It's the game of life, and it's a game that you get to play every day. So be thankful that you get to play that game. And when you get in, do your part because you make a difference to a whole lot of us. Thank you so much. Remember, glue. God's love undoes everything. Have a safe weekend and be safe. And then help somebody else be safe. Over and out. Ciao.